Screw that. I do a part 2 video. Fuck you. You're not going to stop me. It's Marco's stunt, right? Like, he's Guns N' Roses coming out of the Sunset Strip. You come out of the Sunset Strip and you're made. You come out of the Sunset Strip and the Sunset Strip is made for 10 more years, even though it was dying at the time where Guns N' Roses was discovered. I know I'm talking over most people's heads. You'll figure it fucking out. So what do I think about Gunnar Miller and Marco Stunt? I think it was good. I think it was good for wrestling. I think it was good for people to air their shit out. I think it got a lot of people agitated, mad, and I think it showed who cared about whom and what and how. And I think all the major players involved raised their stock because of it. And the people that didn't take advantage of that raising of the stock will wish they did later on, no matter what form that takes. What an incredibly positive fucking video the part 1 was, and now part 2 is. But now it's time for the commentary. And I said it was going to take a 180, and so it will. I like the position that I hold currently, and I like where that position is growing. I like that I'm making some money through this, albeit not a huge amount. But my pay goes beyond the money that I make on Patreon or through PayPal now. My pay is the satisfaction in knowing that I've proven people wrong. And it's the satisfaction in knowing that all the people who say I don't matter, or did, now fucking know I do. And all the people who hated me, for the most part, do not anymore. And the recognition from people who have literally threatened my physical health and life itself, who now want me or see me as an ally. But the truth is, my ally, what I do this for, ultimately boils down to wrestling itself and cleaning it the fuck up. Champions Clash. It's Southern Violence and Wrestling, All-Star Wrestling, and Georgia World Class Wrestling all doing a giant show. And a number of people contacted me right off the jump. We're doing this thing, and they want me to talk about it. Totally understandable. That is a big deal, right? You might argue about the quality of the wrestlers overall who are on those shows. Certainly there are notables on all 3 of those shows. They're running in the Noel Rec Center. And if that's familiar to you, or even if it's not, I'll just tell you what it is. It's a place where Southern Fried used to run at one point. And it's a deliberate shot across the bow by the Nelms, influenced and in some cases led Southern Violence and Wrestling, All-Star Wrestling, Georgia World Class Wrestling. It's a shot off the bow. And right now, they probably think they're the baby faces, right? After all, it's David Manders who made the, I would say, ill-advised call of pulling Chris Nelms, the footage from him being inducted into the Hall of Fame and all that bric-a-brac. So now we have a full-fledged war, and we have a fire raging in and near Monroe, Georgia. There's no denying it. It is the promotional fight that's happening right now. I wonder how long it's going to be before the Elite Marks podcast is going to go like, I don't know, is it a shoot? Is it a work? Is it a work? I don't know. Is it a shoot? Is it a work? Can't wait. Can't wait for their take on is it a work or a shoot? It's a fucking shoot. And where do I fall on this? At times, my thinking about wrestling is very modern, and I get chastised for that. At times, my take on wrestling is very simplistic and old school, and I get chastised for that. But I get praised more for both sides that I take, because I take things on an issue-by-issue basis. So what do I think about Champions Clash happening in the Noel Rec Center to run directly in opposition to one of the big shows that Southern Fried does, Crossroads? What do I think about it? I think it's fucking horseshit. I think running in that town, in that way, in that building, is horseshit. Do you have the right to do it? Yes, let's get that out of the way. You know, if you pay your money, can you be in that building? Sure. Of course you can do a thing. But I think sometimes people forget. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. If people put that much thought into things, the world would certainly be a better place, and certainly Georgia wrestling would. Do I find it interesting from a certain perspective? Yes. Do I think it escalates that war between those promotions and Southern Fried? Absolutely. Do I think that war is a great story for me to cover? Yes. Do I find it interesting that people who wouldn't have fucking crossed the street to spit on me if I was on fucking fire are now talking to me about all of this on every side? Yes. But I'm here to give you my fucking take on shit. That's what you're watching this for. And here's my take. I think Champions Clash being in that building is a fucking bullshit move. It's a Bush League move. And it's a move that shows that no matter who are on those shows, somebody said, when I put up my top 10 list of the most powerful and influential people in Georgia wrestling, you know who was one of the few names that wasn't disputed openly by anybody towards me, with me? It was Chris Nelms. I put him at 10. And that should have shocked people. I thought it would more than it honestly did. But somebody put it to me this way. And I believe it was Gary Lamb. Chris Nelms, he's a king. He's the king of the shitbirds, but he's still a king. Well said. And he's right. Champions Clash, running in the Noel Rec Center, is not only disrespectful, is not only excessive, I think it's a shitbird move. I think when the WWE in the past has undercut their competition with the show, could they do it? Technically, of course. But was it a shitbird move of them? Yes. Just because of the WWE doesn't mean they can't do shitbird things. And at the end of the day, did it work? Sure. You know, running fucking Survivor Series against fucking Starrcade worked. Of course, running, you know, the Royal Rumble against the fucking Bunkhouse. Of course, doing all that shit worked. Here's what's funny. You know, the WWF did shit to WCW. And when WCW responded by having free Clash of Champions, ironic, not so much that it's Champions Clash this time around, when they ran Clash of Champions for free against WrestleMania 4 and hurt those numbers, cable companies fucking got mad at them, right? But they're like, but they fucking did it first, doesn't matter, right? Southern Fried's going to have a fucking response. And from a storyline standpoint, from my standpoint, that's fucking fascinating. I can't wait to see what they're going to do, because they're going to do something. They have to do something. You have to fucking respond. You do. But what they choose to do will be the most interesting story of all, and I can't fucking wait. Because I think it's safe to say this. Here's my commentary. By running in that building and pushing it the way that they are, They're not the babyface anymore. There's a time where they could claim that status, and they could claim babyface status, and they were drawing crowds bigger than the average Southern Fried crowd, but now Southern Fried is on the fucking mend. They're on the warpath. 250 to 260 at the last show, and then 290 at their last one. What's Champions Clash going to do? I'm going to have to wait and see. I will say, are they going to get over 300 legit paid fans in that building? No. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. And I think they will find that this switch from being the obvious baby face of poor Chris Nelms and fucking David Manders is a fucking bully and all this stuff. I think now Manders and Southern Fried can claim the moral high ground on this shit. And I don't think Chris Nelms is a baby face anymore. And I don't think Champions Clash can claim some kind of baby face status. And I think people are now going to watch this war, and you have to pick a side. Even if that side is, it was a bullshit move. And I'm saying, Champions Clash running in that building, there's something really fucking ugly about it and disrespectful about it. All I know is, from here, I'm watching, and I can't wait to see what happens. And I imagine, if there is an afterlife, and Charles is looking on, oh, he's got to be rubbing his hands. We all are. Because once nobody has babyface status, then it's just a fucking fight to the death. And I'm saying that in this commentary as well. With that move of running in the Noel Rec Center, I don't know if Chris Nelms and friends realize what they have done. What they've done is this. There can't be a reconciliation down the line betwixt Southern Fried and these guys. One of them's got to fucking lose. One of them's got to die now. One of these groups is going to have to die. Anything else is a fucking crashing disappointment. That's an act of war. Not like the footage and Chris Nelms and the Hall of Fame stuff. That was some petty shit. That's how almost anyone is. It was fucking petty. But running in that building, I don't care how much you think wrestling has changed. I don't care what you think about what is new wrestling protocol. It's capitalism. You can run. Burger King can run across the street from McDonald's and the rest of the fucking horseshit arguments people make. It's a fucking act of war. Something tells me the Southern Fried's going to want to fight that fucking war. But our Southern violence in wrestling, all-star wrestling, Georgia world-class wrestling, are you going to fight a war? Or is this just going to be another bullshit wrestling conflict that peters out and where everybody backs up? Back in the day, people didn't back up. They knuckled up. And if Chris Nelms and that group are as old school 605 and traditional wrestling and no flips, we just fucking kick ass and we're blood and guts, it's time to knuckle up too, boys, because you asked for the fight. And Southern Fried, you can't be baby faces in this either. This is now a fucking pit fight to the death. I can't wait to fucking watch it. Has Georgia wrestling overall been this exciting in recent memory? And by recent memory, I mean the last 25 fucking years. It has not. And now, when you do something of significance, we're all here to report on it. Larry, Rob, Rod doing reports, and now Myron. You got the Tapped Out podcast guys whose audience is growing and growing and growing. Fucking Gunnar Miller doing his fucking thing. Even though he seems to talk about wrestling almost fucking regretfully because he has to. It doesn't make it any less huge. It doesn't make Gunnar Miller less of a giant fucking presence on the scene. If you've got the fucking Mount Rushmore of the people who are fucking reporting on this shit. Larry Goodman. Tapped Out Guys. I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. Rob Rod. Gunnar Miller. There's your fucking Mount Rushmore. So let's go to War Boys. We'll be here as war correspondents to bring it all to you. This has been Full Disclosure.